Chapter 23. Save the sandwiches, Gloria Dump yelled to me. Save the punch. I got the dog pictures, screamed Sweetie Pie, and she went running around tearing off in them trees and in the chairs. Don't worry, I got 'em. I grabbed the platter of egg salad sandwiches and the preacher grabbed the punch, and we ran into the kitchen with them. And when I ran back outside, I saw that Amanda had a hold of Miss Franny Block and was helping her into the house. Miss Franny was so teetery on her high heels that the rain would have knocked her right over if Amanda hadn't held on to her. I grabbed Gloria Dump's arm. I'm all right, she said, but she put her hand on my arm and held on to me tight. I looked around in the garden before we left. All the crepe paper was melted and the candles were out, and then I saw Otis. He was standing there by his jar of pickles, just looking down at his feet. Otis! I hollered over at him over the rain. Come on, we're going inside. When we got into the kitchen, Amanda and Miss Franny were laughing and shaking themselves like dogs. What a downpour, said Miss Franny. Wasn't that something? That came right out of nowhere, said the preacher. Woo-wee, said Gloria. Dog, squawked Gertrude, and I looked at her. She was sitting on the kitchen table. The thunder was really booming and crackling. Oh no, I said. I looked around the kitchen. Don't worry, I saved them dog pictures. I got 'em right here, said Sweetie Pie, and she waved around her wad of dog pictures. Where's Winn-Dixie? I forgot about him. I was just thinking about the party and I forgot about Winn-Dixie. I forgot about protecting him from the thunder. Now, Opal, he's probably right out in the yard hiding underneath the chair. Come on, you and I'll go get him. Hold on, let me get you a flashlight and some umbrellas, said Gloria Dump. But I didn't want to wait. I went running out into the yard. I looked under all the chairs and around all the bushes and the trees. I called his name real loud. I felt like crying. It was all my fault. I was supposed to hold on to him and I forgot. Opal, shouted the preacher. I looked up and he was standing on the porch with Gloria. And Dunlop and Stevie Dewberry were standing there here. Your guests are here, Opal. I don't care, I hollered. Come on up here, Gloria said, and her voice was hard and serious. She shone her flashlight at me. I walked up onto the porch and she handed me the flashlight. Tell these boys hey, she said. Then tell them you're glad to see them and that you'll be right back as soon as you find your dog. Hey, I said, thank you for coming. I'm just going to go find Winn-Dixie and then I'll be right back. Stevie stared up at me with his mouth wide. You want me to help? Dunlop asked. I shook my head. I tried not to cry. Come on here, child, Gloria said, and she reached for me and pulled me close to her and whispered in my ear. There ain't no way you can hold on to something that wants to go. You understand? You can only love what you got while you got it. And she squeezed me hard. Good luck now, she called as me and the preacher stepped off the porch and ran out into the rain. Good luck, Miss Franny yelled from the kitchen. That dog ain't lost, I heard Miss Sweetie Pie holler from inside. That dog's too smart to get lost. I turned around and looked back, and the last thing I saw was the porch light shining on Dunlop Dewberry's bald head. It made me sad, him standing on Gloria's porch, his bald head glowing. Dunlop saw me looking, and he raised up his hand and waved to me. I didn't wave back. Chapter 24. Me and the preacher started walking and calling Winn-Dixie's name. I was glad it was raining so hard because it made it easy on me when I was crying. I cried and cried and cried the whole time I was calling for him. Winn-Dixie, I screamed. Winn-Dixie, the preacher shouted, and then he whistled long and loud, But Winn-Dixie didn't show up. We walked through downtown. We walked past the Dewberry's house and the Herman W. Block Memorial Library and Sweetie Pie's yellow house and Gertrude's Pets. We walked out to the Friendly Corners trailer park and looked underneath our trailer. We walked all the way out to the Open Arms Baptist Church of Naomi. We walked past the railroad tracks and right on down Highway 50. Cars were rushing past us and their taillights glowed red like mean eyes staring at us. Daddy, what if he got run over? Opal, we can't worry about what might have happened. All we can do is keep looking. We walked and walked, and in my head I started a list on the 10 things that I knew about Winn-Dixie. Things I could write in big old posters and put them around in the neighborhood. Things that would help people know to look for him. Number 1 was that he had a pathological fear of thunderstorms. Number 2 was that he liked to smile using all of his teeth. Number 3 was that he could run fast. Number 4 was that he snored. Number 5 was that he liked to catch mice without squishing them to death. Number 6 was that he liked to meet new people. Number 7 was that he liked peanut butter. Number 8 was that he couldn't stand to be left alone. Number 9 was that he liked to sit on couches and sleep in beds. And number 10 was that he didn't mind going to church. I kept on going over and over my list in my head. I memorized it the same way I memorized the list of 10 things about my mama. I memorized it so that if I found him, if I didn't find him, I would have some part of him to hold on to. But at the same time, I thought of something that I'd never thought of before, and that was the list of things that couldn't even begin to show somebody the real Winn-Dixie. Just like a list of 10 things that couldn't even show me my mama. And thinking about that made me cry even more. Me and the preacher looked for a long time, and finally he said we had to quit. But Daddy, I said, Winn-Dixie is out there somewhere. We can't leave him. Opal, we have looked and looked, and there's only so much more looking we can do. I can't believe you're going to give up, I told him. India, Opal, said the preacher, rubbing his nose. Don't you argue with me. I stood and I stared at him. The rain had let up, but it was mostly a drizzle right now. It's time to head back now, he said. No, I told him. You go back and go, but I'm going to go on keep looking. Opal, said the preacher. Then in a real soft voice, it's time to give up. You always give up. You're always putting your head inside your stupid little turtle shell. I bet you didn't even go out looking for my mama when she left. I bet you just let her run off too. Baby, the preacher said, I couldn't stop her. I tried. Don't you think I wanted her to stay too? Don't you think I miss her every day? And he spread his arms out wide, and then he dropped him to his side. I tried, he said. And then he did something that I couldn't believe. He started to cry. The preacher was crying. His shoulders were moving up and down, and he was making snuffling noises. And don't believe that losing Winn-Dixie doesn't upset me as much as it does you. I love that dog. I love him too, Opal. Daddy, I said, and I went and I wrapped my arms around his waist. He was crying so hard he was shaking. It's okay. It's all right, I told him. Shh. I said that to him like he was a scared little kid. Everything's gonna be okay. And we stood there hugging and rocking back and forth. And after a while, the preacher stopped shaking, and I still held on to him. And finally, I got the nerve to ask the question I wanted to ask. Do you think she's ever gonna come back? I whispered. No, said the preacher. No, I don't. I hoped and prayed and dreamed about it for years, but I don't think she'll ever come back. Gloria says that you can't hold on to anything, that you can only love what you got while you got it. She's right, said the preacher. Gloria Dump is right. I'm not ready to let Winn-Dixie go, I said. And I'd forgotten about him for a minute, what with thinking about my mama. We'll keep looking, said the preacher. The two of us will keep looking for him, but do you know what? I just realized something, India Opal. When I told you your mama took everything with her, I forgot one very important thing that she left behind. What? I asked. You. Thank God your mama left me you. And he hugged me real tight. I'm glad I've got you too, I told him. And I meant it. I took a hold of his hand and we started walking back into town, calling and whistling for Winn-Dixie the whole way. Chapter 25. We heard the music before we even got to Gloria Dump's house. We heard it almost a block away. It was guitar playing and singing and clapping. I wonder what's going on, my father said. We walked up Gloria's sidewalk and around the back through her yard and into the kitchen. What we saw was Otis playing his guitar and Miss Franny and Gloria sitting there smiling and singing, and Gloria holding Sweetie Pie in her lap. Amanda and Dunlap and Stevie were sitting on the kitchen floor, clapping, singing, and having the best possible time. Even Amanda was smiling, and I couldn't believe how happy they were when Winn-Dixie was still missing. We didn't find him, I shouted at them, and the music stopped. And Gloria looked at me and said, Child, I know you didn't find him. You didn't find him because he was right here all along. And she took her cane and poked at something under her chair. Come out here, she said. And then there was a snuffle and a sigh. He's asleep. He's plumb wore out. She poked around with her cane again, and Winn-Dixie stood up from underneath her chair and yawned. Winn-Dixie, I said. Dog, Gertrude squawked. And Winn-Dixie wagged his tail and showed me all of his teeth and sneezed. I went pushing past everybody, and I dropped to the floor and wrapped my arms around him. Where have you been? I asked him, and he yawned again. How'd you find him? Now there's a story, Miss Franny said. Gloria, why don't you tell it? Well, we was all just sitting around waiting on you two, and after I convinced them Dewberry boys that ain't no scary witch and all full of spells and potions. She ain't no witch, Stevie said, and he shook his bald head. He looked kind of disappointed. No, she ain't, said Dunlop. If she was, she would have turned us into toads by now. He grinned. I could have told you that she wasn't a witch. Witches don't exist, said Amanda. They're just myths. All right now, said Gloria. What happened was we got through all them witchy things, and then Franny said, why don't we have a little music while we wait for you two to get back? And so, as Otis played his guitar, and woo-wee, there wasn't a song he didn't know. And if he didn't know it, he could pick it right up and hum it to him. If you hum it to him, he's got a gift. Gloria stopped and smiled over at Otis. He smiled back. He looked all lit up from the inside. Tell them what happened, said Sweetie Pie. Tell about that dog. So, Franny and me, we started thinking about all these songs we knew from when we were girls. We got Otis to play them, and then we started singing, teaching the words to these children. Then somebody sneezed, Sweetie Pie shouted. That's right. Somebody sneezed, and it wasn't one of us. So we looked around wondering who did, thinking that maybe we got us a burglar in the house. We looked around and we didn't see nothing, so we started singing again. Sure enough, there was another big achoo. Sounded like it was coming from my bedroom. So I sent Otis in there. I said, Otis, you go in there and you see who's sneezing. So Otis went in and you know who he found. I shook my head. Winn-Dixie, shouted Sweetie Pie. That dog of yours was hid all the way underneath my bed. Squeezed in there like the world was about to end, but he was smiling like a fool every time he heard Otis play the guitar, smiling so hard he started to sneeze. My daddy laughed. It's true, said Miss Fanny. It's the truth, said Stevie. Dunlop nodded and smiled at me. So, Otis played his guitar right to that dog, and a little bit at a time Winn-Dixie came creeping out from underneath the bed. He was covered with dust, said Amanda. He looked like a ghost, said Dunlop. Yeah, just like a ghost, said Sweetie Pie. Looked like a ghost. Anyway, the storm stopped after a while. Then your dog settled underneath my chair and fell asleep. That's where he's been ever since, waiting on you to come back and find him. Winn-Dixie, I said, and I hugged him so tight he wheezed. We were out there whistling and calling for you, and you were right here all along. Thank you, I said to everyone. Well, we didn't do nothing. We just sat here and waited and sang some songs. We all got to be friends now. The punch ain't nothing but water, and the egg salad sandwiches all got tore up by the rain. You gotta eat them with a spoon if you want egg salad. But we got pickles to eat and litmus lozenges, and we still got a party going on, said Gloria. My daddy pulled out a kitchen chair and sat down. Otis, he said, do you know any hymns? I know some, said Otis. You hum it, said Miss Franny, holding her head, nodding her head, and he can play it. And so my daddy started humming something, and Otis started picking it out with his guitar. And when Dixie wagged his tail and lay back down underneath Gloria's chair, I looked around the room at all the different faces, and I felt my heart swell up inside me with pure happiness. I'll be back in a minute, I said. But they were all singing now and laughing, and Winn-Dixie was snoring, so no one heard me. Chapter 26. Outside, the rain had stopped and the clouds had gone away, and the sky was so clear it seemed like I could see every star ever made. I walked all the way to the back of Gloria Dump's yard. I walked back there and I looked at her mistake tree. The bottles were quiet, there wasn't a breeze, so they were just hanging there. I looked at that tree and then I looked up at the sky. Mama, I said, just like she was standing right beside me. I know 10 things about you, and that's not enough. That's not near enough. But Daddy's gonna tell me more, I know he will, now that he knows you're not coming back. He misses you and I miss you, but my heart doesn't feel empty anymore. It's full all the way up. I'll still think about you, I promise, but probably not as much as I did this summer. That's what I said that night underneath Gloria Dump's mistake tree. And after I was done saying it, I just stood staring up at the sky, looking at the constellations and the planets. And then I remembered my own tree, the one that Gloria had helped me plant. I hadn't looked for it in a long time. I went crawling around on my hands and knees searching for it, and then when I found it, I was surprised to see how much it had grown. It was still small, and it looked more like a plant than a tree, but the leaves and branches felt real strong and good and right. And I was down there on my knees when I heard a voice say, "Are you praying?" I looked up. It was Dunlop. "No," I said, "I'm not praying, I'm thinking." And he crossed his arms and looked down at me. "What about?" he asked. "All kinds of things," I said. "I'm sorry that I called you and Stevie bald-headed babies." That's all right. Gloria told me to come out here and get you. I told you she wasn't a witch. I know it. I knew it all along. I was just teasing you. Oh, I said, and I looked at him close. It was hard to get a good look at him in the dark yard. Ain't you ever gonna stand up? He asked. Yeah, I said, and then he surprised me. He did something I never in a million years thought a Dewberry boy would do. He held out his hand to help me, and I took it. I let him pull me to my feet. I'll race you back to the house, Dunlop said, and he started to run. Okay, I shouted, but I'm warning you, I'm fast. And we ran. I beat him. I touched the corner of Gloria Dump's house right before he did. You shouldn't be running around in the dark, said Amanda, and she was standing on the porch looking at us. You could trip over something. Oh, Amanda, said Dunlop, and he shook his head. Oh, Amanda, I said too. And then I remembered Carson, and I felt bad for her. I went up to the porch and I took a hold of her hand and pulled her in. Come on, I said, let's go inside. India Opal, Daddy said when me and Amanda and Dunlop walked in. Are you here to sing some songs with us? Yes, sir, I said. Only I don't know that many songs. We'll teach you, he said, and he smiled at me real big, and it was good to see. That's right, said Gloria Dump, we will. Sweetie Pie was just sitting on her lap, but her eyes were closed. Care for a litmus lozenge? Miss Franny asked, passing me the bowl. Thank you, I told her, and I took a litmus lozenge and unwrapped it and put it in my mouth. Do you want a pickle? Otis asked, holding up his big jar of pickles. No, thank you, I said, not right now. Winn-Dixie came out from underneath Gloria Dump's chair. He sat down next to me and leaned into me, same as I was leaning into my daddy. And Amanda stood right there beside me, and when I looked over at her, she didn't look pinch-faced at all. Dunlop cracked his knuckles and said, Well, are we going to sing or what? Yeah, said Stevie. Are we going to sing or what? Let's sing, said Sweetie Pie, opening her eyes a little and sitting up straight. Let's sing for this dog. Otis laughed and strummed his guitar. And then the flavor of the litmus lozenge opened up in my mouth like a flower blooming, all sweet and sad. And then Otis and Gloria and Stevie and Miss Franny and Dunlop and Amanda and Sweetie Pie and my daddy all started to sing a song. And I listened so careful so I could learn it just right.